Thanks for joining us on Khari, free at last, exclusively on Bounce23 TV. The change in black music was slow because the remnants of awareness created by James Brown's Say It Loud and Marvin Gaye's What's Going On were still deep in the people's consciousness mind. In order to break the hold of the black movement, the music had to be changed. Whoever controls the music controls the people. What happened to black music? From James Brown to Lil Wayne. Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host the Reverend John Coates, Kevin K.T. Towns, and Brother Shaba Toure. What happened to black music, Reverend Coates?
I think you said the operative word, and that's control. We don't control our music, and we haven't controlled our music for 80 years. You know, and it's sad because our music is indigenous to our experiences and to the community. And but on the business side of it, when it's recorded, when it was pressed on vinyl, now CD, and now on MP3s, we don't control.
But how did we go from Sam Cooke to Lil Wayne, Shabaka? I mean, come on. Well, in my day, if you'd have heard something like Lil Wayne, you know what you would have done with it. Right. But I mean, what happened?
Well, it's like John said, we haven't controlled our music, and he said 80 years, I would agree. And as you pointed out, to break the hold of the quote-unquote black movement, the music had to change. Because if we look at the history, we'll see that music played a major role in the so-called civil rights movement. And
Curtis Mayfield,
yes,
moving on up. We're a winner. Keep on pushing.
Exactly,
all of that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and even into the 70s, ain't no stopping us now. You know, that type of music had to be removed in order to dumb down the people, therefore dumb down the movement.
You don't buy that, do you, KT? Ooh, Kevin Towns?
Wow.
Huh?
Well, actually, you know, when you have the Isley Brothers, for instance, when they came out with Fight the Power.
Fight the Power.
That was a revolutionary song because of what was happening in the community. They needed something to pump them up because of what was happening in the community. So it was like a theme song
Time
for
is
them.
truly wasted.
Exactly.
Help me sing it. Wait, what's the rest of it?
Fight the Power, I thought that was Public Enemy #1.
Well, Public Enemy
was the one.
What do you mean Public Enemy #1? Public Enemy.
That's the name.
The group was called Public Enemy. It wasn't no Public Enemy.
I'm sorry, I got confused with your friends from the FBI. Reverend Sharpton gave me that name.
Watch out now. All right, what I'm saying is, who took control of black music and why did it change? Shabaka?
Well, again, we have to go back to the fact that we never really controlled it. Our music has always been controlled by someone else.
Who?
Well, the people controlling the industry, whoever that might be.
Wait a minute, do I have to be an owl on this show? I keep saying who?
Well, I mean,
every major record, he has to be careful.
Like James Brown.
He's trying to be careful in the way that he answers because he doesn't want to be discriminatory or be perceived as being, perceived as being discriminatory. But every major record label, every major producer, every major person that put themselves down as a writer of a song but didn't write a word, ask Little Richard. He'll tell you who, because he didn't receive a number of royalties that he should have got. Ask Frankie Lyman. Call him up from the grave so he can tell you who.
So black musicians have been ripped off all along. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, yes.
And so, but who changed the course of the music, though?
The same people that took control of the music previously. It was a producer or a director that decided to say, okay, this isn't the image that we want within the black community. There's too much power, there's too much revolution, there's too much pride that's taking place. So let's change the direction. So the same dirt that was pushed onto the white community in heavy metal music is the same thing that happened to hip-hop music when they decided to take a strong and forceful positive
Is that true,
power
Shabaka?
and then turn it something
negative. Yes,
negative.
I would agree. And I mean, the music is being used against the people, period.
How?
Well, again, by the lyrics.
Well, for example, give me an example. That's what you do. Tell me. Give me an example.
Well, for example, let's just bring it all the way up to date. When we talk about the glorification of gang banging and dope slanging and all this kind of stuff, that's a good example. I mean, we went from raising our fists saying black power to throwing money in the air talking about make it rain.
How does music, Kevin, change behavior? What effect does it have?
Attitude and how it's perceived as far as airplay.
What do you mean?
Exposure-wise, because when you hear something, say for instance, Lil Wayne and, you know, the Cash Money Boys talking about bling bling. when you hear that, it's like, okay, well, I got to get mines.
It's entertainment. Good gracious, you guys are taking this time. It's only entertainment.
It's not entertainment when a group names itself something derogatory with an attitude, the letter N with other words following, with an attitude.
They're just reflecting what's happening on the street, so they say.
And then they record a song that says F, and it doesn't stand for Frank, the police.
Stay right there, don't go nowhere. Gangsta rap, sexual explicitness, and the crack cocaine epidemic. Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last. The 1990s saw the greatest change in black music, with the evolution with what some say is the artificially created sound called gangsta rap. This musical expression reached full tilt when gangsta rap, sexual explicitness, and the crack cocaine epidemic occurred at the same time under the title of such names as Freaknik and other activities, which brought down the standard of behavior in the African American community. This was no accident, or was it? Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host, the Reverend John Coates, Kevin Towns, and brother Shaba Toure. All of a sudden, we get crack cocaine, we get sexual explicitness, we get gangster rap. All of these forces seem to be colliding at the same time. Now, that just had to be, that was just market forces.
It's just not.
There's no conspiracy.
It's just not by way of coincidence.
That's just, come on.
The crack cocaine epidemic hit the United States in full force around 83, 84. Whenever there's a sense of consciousness that hits the community, then we find an influx of drugs. So Curtis Blow is singing the song, If I Ruled the World. Public Enemy is singing, that's Public Enemy, Fight the Power That Be. And there's a sense of power that's taking place, an enlightenment that's taking place in the community. Jesse Jackson's running for president.
And the Afrocentric movement is growing.
Is increasing.
Right.
Farrakhan's on the rise.
Right. Yeah.
And then we see crack flood the community. We see Ronald Reagan have a press conference and hold a big crap like he had a bag of crack, like it's 2 bars of Dow soap. So this was just purchased outside of the White House, a block away from the White House. So, you know, we see drugs come in whenever there's a sense of consciousness.
And so here comes gangster rap, Shaba Toure. I mean, Death Row Records, all that kind of stuff, but gangster rap, explain to people what this is. And why did it appear on the scene at the same time as all of these other dynamics?
Well, first of all, as we just said, it's not a coincidence at all. I would say that it's actually a continuation of the counterintelligence program of the FBI or COINTELPRO.
COINTELPRO?
Right, because we can see even during the civil rights movement, particularly the Black Power movement, we see an influx of heroin coming to the community. But apparently heroin wasn't strong enough to knock things out of kilter, so to speak. They had to come up with something stronger, and they came up with crack cocaine. So I don't think it's any mistake that gangster rap coincided with the advent of crack cocaine.
And then we get Freaknik down in Atlanta. All of a sudden, because, you know, black people sexually are very conservative historically. And then all of a sudden we get this Freaknik stuff that was going on at the Mardi Gras, stuff that you don't normally see. What in the world's going on? What's up with that, Kevin?
Well, you had like groups like 2 Live Crew that was the epitome as far as on the Freaknik.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, with that sexual power, that energy is like, we've arrived, we want to conquer.
Well, Red Fox had...
He had that, true.
Red Fox had half-clad women on his album, but it was a very small thing, and very few people got it. But this was wide dissemination, right?
Exactly. And then to prove a point that it was explosive as far as what was happening in the scene, it was like, oh, 2 Live Crew. And then that's when it was like, oh, we got to ban this. And that's when you started seeing the parental advisory stickers because of what 2 Live Crew did.
Was that a good thing or bad thing for the community?
That was a bad thing.
Why?
Because of the simple...
Oh, you just approve.
No, it's a bad thing because you have your kids just doing all that kind of stuff.
Well, for example, what are you talking about? Break it down.
Well, first of all, the freakiness of the... You know, the kids...
Oh, did you hear what he said? The freakiness of it.
I watched the way he moved. I like the way he moved when he said it. He's like, wow.
Beating his hand.
Hey, watch out.
Oh, we ain't gonna go there. But anyway.
But that's the image that corporate America didn't want to see it, so there's like, oh, we don't want our kids to be a part of it.
That is until corporate America decided that they could make money from it. So corporate America said, oh, wait a minute, we can make $1. So think about it. Hip-hop helped to drive the purchasing power or the purchases of the two most expensive forms of champagne, Dom Perignon and Cristal, because they put them in rap videos, and then kids that didn't have no money started buying bottles of Dom Perignon and Cristal.
Is there a difference between hip-hop, rap, and gangster rap? Is there a difference between those three?
Those categories fall within the overbranching category of hip-hop.
All right, but is gangster, what did gangster rap, Shabaka, socially, politically, what did gangster rap do to the African-American community?
Well, I think it really took us off the path towards liberation.
What do you mean? How?
Again, we went from say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, what's going on, moving on up, fight the power, to now I'm the biggest dope slinger in the city.
I got my hand on the Glock.
That's right. I got my car, I got my women, I got my Cristal, or whatever. So, you know, hey, man, I'm the one. I got my bling bling, I got big diamonds in both ears, got all this diamond jewelry. So this is what it's about, baby.
And not only is it sexual,
what was the psychological effect on young black people and young black males and females? What was the effect?
Well, like I read earlier, they became the symbols in the community. They became, for many youth, something to strive for. You know, kind of like back in the day, back in your day, Khari, when, you know,
what you mean back in my day?
You know, like the pimps, you know.
Do you see what he did? Hey, Reverend, help me out here. He said back in my day, they didn't use the word pimp.
He meant pips. He meant pips.
Get him straight.
No, but back in the 70s, for example, you had the Mac, you know, you had Superfly being promoted as the symbols that we should look
at. Blaxploitation music.
You're saying black music wasn't positive back then?
Oh, we had both positive and negative, but there's always...
In 72, Curtis Mayfield, who was leading the so-called Black Revolution, came out with Superfly, which flipped, and everybody started wearing this Superfly hair, Superfly outfit. Did they not? The revolution just went kaput.
Yeah, well, maybe we should hold him responsible then.
Well, I don't know.
Because he, in the whole black exploitation movement in movies and in music.
So what had happened is that did the music just follow natural evolution? Was it all bad to start with? What good came out of black music?
It was channeled. I mean, the good came out in the mid to late 60s.
So it was movement music.
Right, there was movement music. And again, if we studied the civil rights movement, we wouldn't see that music played a huge part of that.
Yes.
Just like the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa.
Gospel as well. James Cleveland, Mahalia
all
Jackson.
of that.
Now, what about disco? Disco was integration music. It appeared to me that as black folks started to integrate, then disco began to happen, because that was more like, you know, making your way into the white society,
mindless
moving on up
music,
kind of music.
Mindless music. The music, the beat of the music was like the flash of the strobe light.
What do you mean?
Well, the strobe lighting hypnotizes, so the repetition of the music in disco seemed to have the same mind-numbing effect that you would if you sat in front of a flashing light.
Excuse me, I was a disco dance champion. I was not mind-numb.
That explains. And I'm so glad that the Lord delivered you and snatched you out of that miry situation.
No, man, I mean, look, I love the music. What was wrong with that music? Anyway, I ain't gonna go there because Shabaka ain't. Anyway, the world's most powerful white corporations use black music to sell their products to white people. Why? Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last. Some of the world's mightiest, biggest, and most powerful corporations spend big money to advertise on gangster rap websites and magazines. Why would these supposedly above reproach white corporations want to promote, support, and be affiliated with gangster rap music? Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host, the Reverend John Coates, Kevin Towns, and Brother Shabaka Toure. Now, we saw the shift of the black music. As we saw it, at one time it was a street kind of music, it was a revolutionary music, a liberation music. Now, the big, large white corporations come in and start buying the advertisements, start using the music to sell to other white people. Why, Reverend Coates?
Well, because they, just like athletes are salesmen to the world, now they're taking music personalities to be salesmen in the world as well. Nat King Cole could sell products, but yet they would not allow him to be fully integrated into society. Dorothy Dandridge could sell products, but they would not allow her to be fully integrated into society. So we've always have been the marketers and the salesmen because we are the drivers of culture within the United States.
Did the big corporations change our music, Shabaka?
Yeah, I think
In
they
what
definitely
way?
had a role in terms of being just part of changing the message.
What do you mean?
From something of substance. I mean, we talked about it before. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, moving on up, what's going on, fight the power, et cetera, to now this mind-numbing nonsense about just getting rich and having all these material things when you really
Get
don't
rich
have
or die trying.
Get rich or die trying.
Look at what happened to reggae.
Stuff.
Reggae was a revolutionary music.
Yeah.
Okay, that it's not, you don't hear Marley in reggae no more.
Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, is Bunny Sigler, was that the other one?
Well, he worked along with Bob Marley.
Right.
Yes.
Are all of them dead? All of them dead?
No.
Which ones are dead?
And not Bunny Sigler, Bunny Wailer.
Bunny Wailer, I'm sorry, Bunny
Yeah,
Wailer.
yes.
So the two top ones are dead, am I right?
Yeah, but here's the other thing that we have to point out. There's still progressive reggae out there. There's still progressive hip-hop out there.
What does progressive
it's just
mean?
Not,
wait.
well,
I get so sick of that
That's
word.
one of them Democrat words.
Well, no,
Yeah, like Democratic
let me
Party.
explain it. Maybe
Who are you?
And maybe I'm just using the wrong term.
Democratic Party operative.
Yeah, you know that
A
ain't true.
Republican Party operative. Oh, my goodness.
But maybe it's a poor choice. But as opposed to what we're hearing now, that's what I'm referring to. In other words,
Does it advance the cause of the people?
There's still revolutionary
Like
music
who?
out there.
Like who? Name
Again,
'em.
well, you take like in the hip hop world, Immortal Technique, for example. He's one. To a certain degree, you still have Talib Kweli doing something.
So what
You have
has this
Mos Def
music,
doing some
on
things.
the ground, what did the music do to the movement? KT, what did it do?
It changed as far as your perception of who you are and what roles that you have to play.
Meaning?
And when you heard Rise of the People and then you heard Can This Be Love, it wasn't just for love and as far as relationship, but Can This Be Love as far as can we all get along? So when you hear that, it's like, okay, I'm out of a bad situation. I need to have love for my people.
Barry White's music had a political message to it.
Oh,
is what
certainly.
you're saying.
But the other
much.
thing that it had is that, look, our music is missing something. And what black music is missing is wholesomeness. We go from what a friend we have in Jesus on one hand to the be better have my money on the other. I mean, there's nothing in between. And then if an artist records something that's more wholesome, then it's automatically taken out of the R&B category and pushed into an adult contemporary white
large
category.
white corporations want to take language with B in it and these gangster and promote it to sell music? I mean, to sell their product. Why? Why would they want to be associated with it?
Because it's adventurous. It's the same way that they would push Al Capone's image now in order to sell something. It's adventurous, and we are we're drivers of culture. So even if it's negative, they'll still push it. Look at they're using Jay-Z. They're using Lil Wayne that looks like
Beyonce,
a tattooed gremlin.
Yeah.
And they
Wait a minute.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Wait a minute. What'd you say? What'd you call him?
A tattooed gremlin.
Oh,
God bless him. And may he be delivered from that demon.
What effect does Lil Wayne's music have on young black people and white people in particular? What effect does this have? Why would a corporation want to push this, Shabaka?
Well, because they're trying to mind shape the people to elicit certain behavior. And really, you know, if it's quote unquote illegal behavior, that just smooths the pathway to prison. You know, if you're convinced that the way you get what you want is by slanging,
Is this feeding the prison industrial state so they create criminals early on and then shift them right off to prison? Is this what this is all about, KT?
Unfortunately, it is.
Well, what's your documentation?
Well, the thing about it is, it's a theme track, theme song. So they figure, well, we're going to go after the youth. Go after something negative.
So they target and create criminals early, and we've seen statistics
and it's very,
where you've got problems with preschoolers.
But it's
now,
very
exactly.
That's my point. It's very, very earlier than what you would suspect because the parents are young. Okay, so their children,
and they're listening to the same thing.
At 2, 3, 4 years old can recite this music, and not only the music, but can imitate the dance moves that are sexually explicit dance moves as well. So as they're moving sexually to the music and they're listening to the violent language, not only violence as it relates to guns, but the music's so sexual, it's not loving sexual, it's violently sexual.
Why would an above reproach corporation want to be associated with that? I'm still not clear.
Well, the question is, are they above reproach?
What do you mean by that?
In the first place.
How dare you?
In the first place. Like somebody said the other day, if you go down the middle aisle of a grocery store...
I'm glad you didn't call one out.
And eat that stuff, you're going to die.
Oh!
And who's putting that up? These so-called above reproach, reputable corporations. So I think they will do anything to sell their product.
So why use the gangster rap man as your pitch man? Why? Why? I mean, why is that? Why do you want him to be or her to be the face of your product?
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question to ask. And I believe that Brother Michael Jackson came close to telling us who the enemy was in the first place.
Before he was assassinated.
Yes, because first it had to be identified. And Michael Jackson very clearly pointed out that it was Sony Music and the man that was backhanding Mariah Carey.
Oh, my goodness. Stay right there. Was the change in black music a CIA-controlled operation? Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last. British author Neil Saunders and others claim the creator of Death Row Records and other gangster rap products were part of a government intelligence operation to destroy black culture. Is this true or is this false? Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host, the Reverend John Coates, Kevin Towns, and brother Shabaka Toure, Kevin Towns. I said Tevin Towns, and I was thinking about Tevin anyway, forget you, forgot you. Anyway, is CIA involved in this? Is the intelligence, did the intelligence guys set this up to Tavistock Institute?
10 years ago,
all of that.
10 years ago,
is that true?
10 years ago, you might not have thought so, but with the Snowden revelations on the NSA, this probably files that may be released in the future by WikiLeaks that may deal with direct connections.
So we don't know who these recording artists are. They could be CIA agents. Is that what you're telling me?
We can look at those that operate in tandem with intelligence, such as that pajama in the bungalow wearing Clive Davis. As well.
So what you're telling me, Shabaka, is that many of the people who we think are just great artists that just appear on the scene may be operatives, may be intelligence operatives. Is that what what's being implied here?
It wouldn't surprise me at all, because you know a lot of these so-called gangster rappers, it's been revealed that they grew up in middle-class neighborhoods. They were far from being gangsters, but this is the image that's portrayed, and we're not in control.
And a lot of them, in spite of all that macho stuff they talk, many of them are known to be bisexual
or homosexual.
Yeah, so
exactly.
they're preaching exactly the opposite of what
and
they are.
And now they're even coming out of the closet. Look at the cultural influence that gangster rap and the whole cultural movement within hip-hop has had on young black men who walk around now not just with their pants sagging, but clear off of their behinds. I'm so tired of walking around seeing people's underwear. Why do I have to look at your underwear when I go to the grocery store or any other?
With nicotine stains in them.
Pull your pants up.
Pull your pants up. Act like you got some self-respect. Is that right?
Pants on the ground, look like a fool. Pants on the ground.
And if they're not sagging, they so skinny, I'm surprised they got circulation going through their legs.
But you know, we've heard about Gloria Steinem, I mean, you know, and the allegations that she was a CIA operative and started all of this conflict between black males and females. We've heard those allegations. Is it true? Could the intelligence operations be behind destroying, like people said they were behind bringing crack cocaine? Is this a part of the operation also, Shabaka?
Well, it would have to be, actually, because if we look at Dr. King's speech, one of his greatest speeches, why I opposed the war in Vietnam, he said that the tactic that they used in Vietnam was to destroy the village. One of the tactics. And if you destroy the village, their attitude is you destroy the people.
So what are we listening to now? I mean, if this is a controlled, experimented music that comes from some brain train or intelligence operation, what are we listening to? Who's developing this music, Reverend Coach?
Well, listen to the songs, look at the artists. You know, you can do your own project. Listen to the major artists on the scene right now: Beyonce, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, who records with everyone. Listen to their music. Listen to the message.
Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj. There's not a positive message in the music. The music is sexual. The music is violent. The music is nonsensical. The music is all negative.
It's all about dumbing down the people.
And then turn that CD over and look and see who is the record company, who's the corporation. You'll see Sony Corporation. You'll see other corporations as well. These are the people that are influencing our community negatively. We want safe music. You're best off to buy it out of the trunk of somebody's car.
Oh my God, Shabaka, closing thoughts on this. You are the impresario of this music. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think where we go is we have to regain control of our culture. We have to quit trying to buy into the super system, thinking we're going to get rich doing all that stuff. Because it's clear, in order to get rich, you have to sell your soul. We have to understand that we have natural-born abilities within ourselves, and we need to go back and tap into that.
Special thanks to TalkTainmentRadio.com host, the Reverend John Coates, Kevin Towns, and Brother Shabaka Toure. And thank you for watching Khari, Free at Last on Bounce23 TV.